welcome to Every Day is Wisdom, where every day we use our guidance, gratitude, and tools to co-create with the universe an amazing life in the areas of health, finances, and relationships. And today we have Julia, again, Julia Lamm, and we're gonna be talking tonight about how to do less and accomplish more, which is a great topic, I think, especially along the lines of law of attraction and, well, just from a practical standpoint. Who wouldn't want to know more about that? We all live these kind of busy lives, so if we can tap into the flow and do more and accomplish less, I think this will be really great information. So again, Julie, do you want to just say a quick what you do? You're a yoga instructor and health and fitness coach. So do you mind just going over that really quickly for people that haven't watched the previous videos?
Yes, with pleasure. I am a certified yoga instructor and I teach various styles of yoga, but primarily my focus is yoga for relaxation, therapeutic yoga, restorative. I teach yoga at offices, yoga studios, wellness centers. I just recently taught yoga on the beach in the Dominican Republic, and that was fun. So people were complaining about sand. Yeah, I know. That's the only complaint they could make. I was a good teacher. So what else? And I do believe in healthy living, so I'm all about generating some healthy tips on how to cook healthy meals, shop healthy food, and have great positive friends surrounding me every day to make my life easier.
Yes, and check out Julia's Facebook page, Grateful Flow Yoga. Is that correct, Julia? Like her fan page. What is it?
Grateful Flow Yoga. So yeah, please like my page. And this month we're celebrating life and we're celebrating the beauty of life because my birthday is coming up and I decided this year is the year to go. Just celebrate my birth and celebrate life all around it. Yeah. There is so much to celebrate. Yeah, please share your celebrations every day.
Yes, that's perfect. And check it out for the amazing recipes. I've been seeing some posts with some really good food.
Thank you. Yeah, it's work in progress. I make them first and then I share. I just try to make it simple or as simple as possible. But I like doing that stuff.
Perfect. So our topic, I'm excited to get into our topic. We were talking yesterday a little bit about it and just how the importance of when you want to achieve something, even something small, like trying to find something, and you are frantically trying to do it on your own or use your will to do it. And the more you get frustrated or worried or have some negative emotions come in, the further you're pushing yourself back from your goal. So I feel like along the lines of this topic, having a goal or something in mind that you're wanting to accomplish and how to get in the flow of an ease about it so that you're not having to do it all on your own. You're getting some cooperation from the universe and things are meeting you there to accomplish your goals. So maybe we can just start out with, from a yoga perspective, along that topic, how that works even from a yoga perspective.
Well, the way I see it from the yoga perspective and the way I try to teach it in my class, so I always emphasize when you are in a pose, think resistance versus energy flow. Because if you are in a certain pose and you're resisting, your mind resists, your body resists. You hate being in this variation of the pose that you chose for yourself, probably because your ego is screaming, you can touch your toes, or whatever the ultimate goal. You've seen it on TV, on the magazines. So when we resist, let's say, while we are in a pose, we only create more resistance. More we push, more it pushes back. So when you are resisting, you're not surrendering. And basically, if we take that a little bit further to the energy perspective, the way I see it, when we're resisting, we're just resisting the energy flow from the universe. So we're not in the flowing, pose. And I always tell my students, the way to test yourself is just try to smile in the pose. And if it hurts to smile, then you're definitely pushing too much and too far. So usually when I say that, it's a relief for a lot of them, because they really start laughing and they just have to come out of the pose so they can laugh a good deal about it. Mm-hmm. And then I tell them, okay, well, that's good. So now let's just try to experiment and find the edge. And in yoga, it's always that fine balance between effort and ease. So like one of the sutras in yoga, it states, the yoga pose is perfect when all the efforts are relaxed, which I think brings us exactly to the theme that we chose for today, because when you found that edge between ease and effort, you are in the flow. You can actually stay, you smile, you breathe, you are surrendered to the moment that is at this time. You're not resisting against the flow of life on the big picture. So that's how, in a nutshell, I see it from the yoga perspective, and just being in the pose. Also, when we're resisting, we're not really in the pose, because we're somewhere else. We're fighting. We're creating the fighting experience. We're not experiencing the pose itself. We're not letting ourselves create the room for the experience to happen in the pose. Which one of the interesting quotes that I just read somewhere, and it says, we're not trying to create an experience. We are creating room for the experience to happen. Experience is just like a present moment. It is always waiting for the place to happen. So, and I think that's what we really need to do. We just need to create room for the experience to happen instead of push, force, and create only more push and force.
Exactly. And that expansiveness, I can feel that, the difference between when you're frantically trying to do something or using your will and resisting, you actually physically feel more closed off. Your breathing changes. You're a little bit tighter in how you're holding yourself, but just what you described feels like expansiveness, feels like creating a gap, feels like a relaxation or a surrender into the moment, and just allowing what's happening to happen for the moment, and a trusting that that is the path and that's how you're going to get to the ultimate result.
Yes, exactly, and that's what you mentioned, the key point. It's the breath. The breath in yoga is one of the main indicators. That's why people do yoga, I think. And when you're resisting, you're probably in this stressful environment for your mind and your body. So you're basically fighting with your cortisol. And usually when we are stressed out, we have that shallow, quick breath that is not really beneficial. So, but when we get into the flow and we feel the pose, we stay in the pose, and we can smile in the pose. So the breath changes immediately. So, and you find nice, relaxed, and deep and slow breath. And that breath is very therapeutic, and it helps you stay in the pose longer. But sometimes we just need to take a journey of awareness, or creating awareness about our body. Especially, I see that all the time with the new people. And when we do restorative yoga, we have to make ourselves very comfortable in the pose. And that's a challenge for a lot of people because we hold the poses from 5 to 15 minutes. And if you're not comfortable, and the whole idea of the restorative yoga is to have no stretch, just be comfortable. And it's a challenge for people. So I see that all the time, that especially when I teach restorative yoga, I have to come to them and we both have to take a journey to their body to see what works, what doesn't, which way to go, what pillow to put, what bolster, what block, and things like that. And then when they finally find, like, that feels good. Like, okay, well, good. I told you, after so many trials and errors, we can find it, but it's going to take time. So usually, yeah, I approach that with fun and smiling and thinking to myself, good, I made one person happy today, at least in one pose. And that's another thing they're afraid to ask, even though you tell them, just raise your hand if you need help, if you're suffering in the pose, and I can see it. Nobody raises the hand. So I just have to come and say, are you comfortable? And they say, no. Why didn't you raise your hand? Anyway, so that's where we are.
That's great. And if we take that over the same correlation over to our lives and the three big areas like finances, relationships, and health, and we use the same analogy of, so say you're wanting to accomplish a goal related to any of those three areas, and can you just give a little bit of a perspective for people on how you could take the action step, the inspired action step, like you said, and still not offer resistance? So more related to those kind of goals in your life, and how emotion plays into that. So if you could just touch on those areas a little bit.
Well, emotions are huge because our feelings create the vibration, and our feelings create the vibrational energy, and likes attract likes, and that's simple. So if you are feeling sad, bad, negative, guilty, at fault, whatever, what vibration you are vibrating into the universal energy, and that's exactly what you'll get back. So that's why staying with the happy thoughts, with a positive attitude, with joy, that's a completely different vibration, and that's the vibration of love. And if we take that to the universe, to the nature, so it's all creation of love. And Deepak Chopra, who actually inspired me with this, doing less, accomplish more, he always refers that to the nature. And we don't doubt that the sun will rise tomorrow. And if you do, oh well. We need to start somewhere else then. But most people don't even think about it. They just know tomorrow is going to be morning time again. They have to go to work. The sun will rise. And tonight, well, the sun has set in Ohio at least. And the grass will be green. And the spring will come, even though in Ohio, a lot of people now thinking, oh, well, it's not going to happen because we're so tired of winter. But it is going to happen. And it's going to come. And then nature is going to take its time. So, and this is all about, again, the energy. And this is how the energy works in the universe. And the thing is that we all have the same energy in ourselves. We just sometimes use it in a different way, like creating resistance, pushing against resistance, and creating the feelings that support that resistance. So if you want to stay in this vibration, then that's fine. Like attracts like, that's what you'll get. So going back to the goals of finances, love, or whatever the third one we were talking about, relationships, yeah, so that's what you'll get. And of course, if you're going to try to connect with the energy of love, what the universe is based on how the nature works and the flowers bloom, that's going to be a completely different vibration. So obviously, for your goals to manifest and just stay in the vibration of positive energy, you definitely have to choose the other way. And that's the way that's going to connect you with the universal energy. But also, a lot of times when I talk to people about them setting goals, this is what happens. Like, for example, you say, okay, so where do you want to find a job? And then she says, well, I just really want to work in the hospital because I have my nursing degree. Like, okay, good. Well, before we go into all the steps and focus and things like that, let me ask you the ultimate question. Do you believe that you will get a job in the hospital? And this is what usually happens. Example. Well, you know, but there are so many nurses nowadays. They even like closed some nursing programs at some colleges. And I don't have that certification, but I know the hospitals require this certification. And then I know my neighbor across the street, she had to move to another state to get a job as a nurse, and it goes on and on and on. So if we cannot answer the question, yes, I believe, let's do it, let's do the next step. Yeah. Why bother?
In your word, that's so powerful.
Vibration you're in, and this is going to be the vibration of resistance and wasting energy by thinking of what would have, should have, could have, how'd have. And this is exactly what Deepak talks about in his book, 7 Spiritual Laws of Yoga of Success. And he calls this law the law of least effort. So this is exactly it. So why wasting energy? Yeah. Then don't just even think about this goal of getting a job at a hospital if you don't believe. Why don't even bother?
Yeah. And you're actually voicing it. You're actually putting it out there with your voice, which is even so much more. You're actually manifesting the opposite of what you want without realizing it by voicing how difficult it is to get the job. So that makes it even more powerful.
And this is exactly going back to that question about emotions and feelings. So if you already come to your manifestation process with these feelings and emotions, then this is not where the energy is not going to be there for you to move you to the direction you want it to be on analytical level. But emotionally and with your belief system, you're not ready. And this is another interesting quote that I got from a book that I just recently read. And it says, your worries are reserved for the areas of life that you have no faith in. So, when we worry about our finances, or when we worry about our relationships, or when we worry about our health, it only says we need to build stronger faith.
Yes, absolutely.
Stronger belief system. And again, going back to the example of the nature and how things are so harmonious and in the flow in the nature, it's the same energy. And if we have faith that tomorrow the sun will rise, why wouldn't you have the same faith that, yes, I will get a job at the hospital as a nurse?
Yes, and that's kind of where the gratitude comes in too, because I feel like when you're acknowledging, because I think everybody can look back on times in their lives where good things have come to pass that you thought of or you had desires for. So if you can keep that in mind, that is possible. I am grateful for the things that I've already seen happen in my life. That is, again, keeping you on that level of least resistance. It's keeping you in the flow, and you're actually attracting more of those things to come your way. So if you're kind of having a problem getting into that area of faith, I feel like in my own experience, looking back on the things that have, all the good things that have come to me and being grateful and appreciative of that, just bounces me right into that great feeling place.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and I know you practice gratitudes too, Julia. I know that's a big part of your life. And
Oh, yes. And I think gratitude, again, it's because it's the energy of love, and that helps you stay in the flow. And what I've been recently doing to help me stay in the flow and express more gratitude, when I go places just like grocery shopping or post office or anywhere, just wherever you have service, even if you speak with someone on the phone. So I always try to notice something that I liked about that service I received so that I can sound sincere and actually compliment the person. Because I think there are just so many people, they do their job every day and they don't even feel appreciated, and they do a good job. And that helps me stay in the flow and also creating the vibration of energy around me that like attracts like. So now bring that energy back to me. I don't do it for that purpose. I actually have fun with it and enjoy it, because when I come do my service, pay the money for my groceries or whatever, and I always say something like, for example, oh, thank you for your smiley and cheerful service today. I really appreciate it. And what I get back is this surprised look, and they smile and they say, oh, yes, well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you liked it. So, and you have that energy back, and I just love observing people and people's reactions for whatever compliment I give them. Or
yes,
I had this recent experience that the person was just so efficient. Like I go to the city to pay the taxes, and every time I go there, she's just like boom, 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 done. Efficient, right? So, and I just told her today, I said, you're always so efficient. You're doing such a great job. I always love coming here to pay my taxes. And she looks at me like, oh, well, that's wonderful. I'm glad. So, and I
she
just,
probably doesn't hear that very often.
and I like have been doing this consistently pretty much anywhere. And if you're at the airport and you talk to a customs officer and you see they're kind of like gloomy and sitting there, and you just try to say something to them, oh wow, I wish the sunshine from Dominican Republic we're here today for you, or whatever. You just have this nice human interaction, and that brings me a lot of joy and a lot of positive emotions. And I don't do it for the person that the energy will bring it back to me, which I believe it will. I just have fun with it. I'm in the flow. I feel like this is my sincere expression of gratitude that helps me stay in the flow and connected with other people in the universe, because you never know who is going to help me manifest my ultimate dream. I might not even know that person. But through those interactions, you also start talking to people, and some of them, they just really start opening up and saying some good things.
And don't you feel too, it just puts you right in the moment. It's a great way to get in the now, because when you're having those really great interactions with another person, it's almost like seeing a beautiful sunset or seeing a mountain scene. It's like it just pops you right into your beautiful now.
Yes, and that's how I feel, in the flow of the universal energy. And what I have noticed also, when I do receive bad service, like today with AT&T, not so good. It didn't really bother me that much. I wasn't stressed out like before. I would be going, oh, who shall I punch? But today I was like, yeah, oh well, I didn't receive a great service. Well, what would you expect from AT&T, right? So, but it didn't bother me as much, because I think I've just been in the flow of receiving good service and enjoying that. And there's so much good out there that this one little experience didn't put me out of the flow and into the resistance. Because before I would be thinking about it for days. And that's another principle that Deepak talks about in his book. He says, practice acceptance, because when you accept the moment, doesn't matter what the moment is. So if you accept it, then you're still staying in the flow. You may just have to learn from the experience, because every experience is an opportunity to learn. And it helps you stay in the flow. Because when you start putting guilt, fault, defend, doing all the other crazy emotions, you're really resisting the present moment, which you start moving against the flow. You're resisting the universal energy at this moment, even though the moment is not that great. But it's going to pass by. That's another great flow of life. Everything is temporary. Everything is just passing by. And I always just love the expression of the ocean waves. They come, they go. They come, they go. The stars, they change their position probably too. The sun, comes different places. The whole earth spins around. So everything is just temporary, because this situation is going to pass. The next one will come, but how you react to it, and what you're really, another good point that he makes there, which I like, you're not really reacting to the situation. You are reacting to your feelings about the situation. And when you look at that from this perspective, if you're really good, you can change your feelings. And that's what we teach in yoga too. So, and that's one of the greatest and easiest tool is just come back to your breath and let your breath do the work. Because when
you don't know too, if you set an intention or you're wanting to get to a certain place, and if something's happening that you judge as it's a block to where you want to go or it's slowing you down, it could be that that's like the perfect plan to ultimately, so it's kind of just all laid out, but we, in our perspective, we see it as something that's kind of slowing us down or blocking us for the moment, or judging it as something that's keeping us, from our perspective, getting toward a goal. But it could be part of the whole plan. So when you're kind of letting go and letting the flow happen and realizing that it's all part of life and just going with it, I think you're not blocking maybe a potential something from happening that you've been trying to manifest into your life, but you're blocking it by the worry and the frustration. But in reality, it could be the process that's taking you to where you want to be.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yes. It's all about not wasting energy. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, this whole, because even just like going back to yoga example, and when you are in the pose and this pose is not comfortable for you, so you're resisting it basically, you are wasting energy by struggling and straining. So which would be easier to just surrender and find the comfortable effort with a comfortable ease, so that you have that edge, but with no overkill.
Yes.
So, and this is, I think, the same principle in life. You always have that edge, but with not the overkill. Yeah. And you just make that step at a time. And I think all those experiences that you were referring, detours, I think they help us like build a stronger faith. If this is your worry, well, that worry is reserved because you don't have the stronger faith. So maybe when you learn that lesson, you're going to have your manifestation come to you.
Yes.
So and that's why we have those detours. Like right now, we're so ready for spring, but it's not here. So it's sort of like a detour. But it will come. So you just have to believe. Yes. Because it's the same energy.
And can you touch a little bit, Julia, on meditation and how you use that to stay in the flow? Is that part of your process, kind of your daily process of keeping yourself on that that high vibration and that high energy?
Oh yes, I think meditation is a great tool for that. So there are so many different types of meditation. Obviously, the ultimate goal of meditation is to quiet your mind. and just achieve that blissful state. And it's not really designed, I think, for setting an intention, but a lot of people use it for that, which I think is okay. But for me, I just try to approach meditation so I can come back to a quiet place, use my breath to slow down, to quiet my mind. And just sometimes, if I cannot quiet my mind in one instance, because sometimes it's impossible, I just watch my mind. Because a lot of times our mind is just doing so many millions of thoughts, we don't even know what we're thinking until you have that moment. Okay, close your eyes, come back to your breath. Oh my God, I'm thinking all these thoughts. That's crazy. So, and then I just, from that point of realization, okay, this is where I am. Again, I'm not trying to, I used to like force myself, okay, you can quiet down now, be in control. So now I just close my eyes, okay, this is where I am. So I'm trying not to resist the moment. I'm trying to surrender. Oh yes, I'm thinking so many thoughts right now. I cannot even quiet down my mind. I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to breathe. Whatever happens, happens. And then there are moments when I come to that blissful state when I'm alert, but I'm so quiet and peaceful. In my opinion, I don't have any thoughts. And it feels so good that I don't want to get out of that state. That's my challenge when I get to those blissful moments. It's so hard to get out. And I was talking to another experienced yogi who lived in ashram and he studied so much. And I said, well, I like meditation and I like achieving those good peaceful states. But the only challenge for me, I don't want to get out. And he says, this is not a challenge. This is exactly what you want to achieve. If you like it, you want to go back. Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's exactly it. So it's like, don't struggle. You just come out when you come out. And you know how it feels. You can go back. And I thought, oh, okay, then that's a relief. So I'm on a good path. But yeah, I can say that I'm not, achieving those moments every time. But what I do now, like I said, I'm just trying to surrender to whatever it is. If I think crazy thoughts and they go through my head, a million thoughts a second, well, this is it. Mm-hmm. That's a great tool. And it helps you stay in the flow, just even if it's for a moment. It really shifts your mind. If you take that 5 minutes or whatever, 2 minutes, just close your eyes, breathe, you're going to feel completely different. It's going to help you deal with your feelings different.
Great. Well, we didn't really talk about preparing for a meditation, but I don't know if you feel comfortable going through a guided meditation with us tonight, like we did in the last episode. Would you mind doing that? They're so great.
Oh, well, I already have a recorded meditation on gratitude, so you can just
that would be perfect. Yeah, that would be great.
But I wanted to touch on one thing.
Sure.
About a theme. So when I was talking about beliefs and having faith, so well, this is kind of like the first step of this equation, or I don't know, maybe not first, but one of the first steps of this equation. But the next step is when you believe, you are in the flow, your feelings are creating the positive vibration, so you're in a good vibration, you surrender to the moment, you accept it. All of that, I think, transforms into the next step, which is And Dr. Wayne Dyer, he said it like this: beliefs are removed. Believing is replaced with knowing. And to me, the state of knowing, it's what I think I would refer to a gut feeling. Like you have no doubts at all. You're just gonna do that thing, or you're going to get that job at the hospital, or whatever your dream and goal is. So when you transform into the state of knowing, so maybe like creating the beliefs, you're still going to have to work and focus. But when you transform into the state of knowing, I think that's when you are exactly and perfectly in the flow. Time is irrelevant. So, I mean, because in order for you to get to that state of knowing, you have to do quite a bit of work. And when you get there, you're in the flow. It's just like, it's in your gut feeling. It's in every ounce of your belief. You just know it. You're really in a relaxed state where you breathe relaxed. You are free of any kind of negative thoughts. And you know it.
Yes.
Like for me, my example would be going back to Russia when I was, when we had all those crazy changes and finally our country was open to the world and I learned about America. So America inspired me to be here one day. And I was going through all stages of this process that I was talking about. First, you know, I live like in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, sure, one day you're going to live in America, Julia. Of course. Huh. So I had to create some belief and I had to work on my intention. And that's another thing. The action goes where the energy flows. So I was working for years, obviously it didn't happen. And then at one point, I believe I achieved that knowing where I felt it in my gut. Like, okay, it's just as there is no other way in life, but there is only way Julia is gonna move to America. And I was going to bed with that thought. I was waking up with that thought. If you ask me somewhere or wherever I go, friends or whoever, and they say, you know, so when are you going to be moving to America? I'm like, very soon. So I pretty much visualized that to the point that there was no other answer for me but the only one. Oh, yes, I'm moving to America. When? Oh, very soon. With whom? Well, with someone or no one. I don't know yet. So, and basically all my answers, all my actions, all my thoughts, they were just like, I had no doubts. But it took me years, so it didn't happen like over a month. It took me years, and I had a lot of frustrations and a lot of disbeliefs and a lot of pretty much not following the law of least effort, a lot of resistance, lots of wasted energy. So I went through all the stages.
What was the turning point for you, Julia? When, like, can you think of a time when you went from kind of the resistance stage to the knowing stage, and what kind of clicked for you that put you into that knowing stage?
I think by that time, I think I was just tired of fighting.
So
That could have, should have, yeah. So I surrendered. Because if this is what I want, this is what I want. And I just decided I'm just going to start living it. That's, I think, how I surrendered. And then another turning point, that I was so frustrated, and that's maybe, but I think that's what it was for me a lot back then, that I was so frustrated with where I was, that frustration became my trampoline, if you will, or jumping point that pushed me, just like you have that button, you push the button, you just fly. And there is no way back. So, and that's what the frustration of where I was at that time, for me, it's that button that just pushed, and I flew so high, and I didn't go down. I just stayed there. And then I think that's what it was. So yeah, I surrendered, and I just started to play the role like, yeah, I'm going.
And that's a key
So,
point.
and some people thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I knew I had to speak English, so I was learning English and trying to expand my horizons and just practice my English and meet with some American people or other English-speaking people and just learn about them.
You immersed yourself in what you wanted. Yeah.
So like one way for me to join Toastmasters, for example, here in America or in any other country probably, people join Toastmasters to speak in public. So for me, I didn't care to speak in public. But for our Toastmasters in Russia, we had to do speeches in English. So we had to kind of bring that American tradition and do the speeches in English and actually do all our meetings in English. And that was like a double challenge. I mean, and I'm actually an introvert by nature, so I had to come and speak in public, plus I had to memorize everything in English, and that was so tough. And I went to Toastmasters, and actually prior to that, I was taking an English course with a teacher, and she was a great teacher. She was in America before and this and that. So she did a field trip for us. We had like maybe 10 people in a group. So everybody came to Toastmasters meeting because she wanted everyone to practice their English and have some exposure. So yeah, and nobody else came back except for Julia. So I had to come back, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to understand all these Russians who speak English with their silly, stupid accents, and then I'm gonna try to answer with good, good sentences. So I kind of just had to stick around and do my speeches, and they were absolutely horrendous. But I memorized everything, and that helped me stay current with my English. So that's how it was. But I knew English was important, and I had to move forward with that, and had that place of knowing, that gut feeling. And then things are going to move pretty quick from that point, actually, because you did all the work. And now you're completely connected with the energy flow.
Yeah,
it's going to help the sun rise.
Yeah.
And it's going to help you manifest the goals. That's the thing, that we a lot of times going somewhere to get like the power, but really if you just connect with the universal power and universal energy, you have your best partner. It's not going to be your Bill Gates or Oprah, but it's the universal energy. It's your partner. Yeah. So just take it or leave it.
Yeah. And you were becoming such a perfect vibrational match to what you wanted by you were speaking the language, you were immersing yourself, and so you just were like a magnet for what you were wanting, being attracted right to you.
Oh, exactly. And that's, it's the energy goes with intention. No, the intention goes where the energy flows. Mm-hmm. Just like we have here in America that game Punch Bug.
Right.
Like when you're driving and you start playing this game and you see so many Volkswagen Punch Bugs. It's like amazing. Where did they all come from? It's because you're focusing. Or if you're thinking, I'm gonna buy this car, like, then you just see those cars everywhere and you're thinking, oh, which one shall I choose, this model or that model? But you focus and it comes to you just in these simple examples.
Yes.
And just for us, obviously, we have to let go and accept. And what's that game that we play with the ball? And you throw the ball. Bowling. Here we go. That's a good example. So when I came to America, I never played bowling before. That's a good example. And I went with my friends to play bowling. And you have those holes there, and you put the fingers in the holes, right? Mm-hmm. So I was making them laugh because I put my fingers in the bowl and I have a grip, like I'm holding to it. So, and obviously when I hold to it and when I go and throw it, I go with the bowl. So, and they're laughing, you know, having a good time, and I'm just going through all this frustration and wasted energy. And then finally it dawned on me, like, yeah, you just have to let go. Let go of the fingers, and the ball will just flow, and it gets there. So after doing all those mistakes and all kind of different funny situations, and they were just picking me up, it was pretty bad. And then finally, like, you know, 45 minutes into it, I finally, okay, let it go. I think I got it now.
Exactly.
So I let go, and the ball flows, and I get all 10 of them, or how many, 12? Anyway, all of them. I haven't played bowling for a while. So, and they go, oh, beginner's luck. But this is just kind of a good visual. If you just let go, you're going to get in the flow, and you get the hit the 10 number.
Yes, and it might take a couple attempts to realize, oh, I'm not letting go. I'm holding on. So you didn't give up. You didn't the first time that it didn't work because you didn't let go. You're like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. This isn't working. But there were a few attempts there, and then you realized, okay, this is the way I need to do it. So way to hang in there with it.
Yeah, and that's and going back to that example, or like old Julia, I would be putting I would be feeling guilty and putting some fault and going into that negative kind of self-talk. But here now talking about it, I'm just like laughing with myself at myself. And this is, I think, also important while we are in this process of making changes and building strength. It's important not to create all this defensive mechanism. Just try to approach it with fun, laugh when you can, and try to make it not like, oh, you should have done this, oh, you could have done that, or start asking, why is it happening to me? So that takes us, again, out of the flow because we start finding, you know, who to put the buck on. How do you say it in English?
Oh, pass the buck, yeah.
Yeah, pass the buck, yeah. So it doesn't really matter. All of that is irrelevant. Yeah. So you just stay in the flow, try to laugh with it, and learn from it. Take that as an opportunity that will bring you closer to your manifestation. Because otherwise you'll be just defending, because when you start talking to people, if you really notice, they take a lot of time to defend their point of view and their principles in life. But if you just relinquish all of that, you're again in the flow. You're not wasting energy. You don't have to defend anything. So you are who you are at this moment. Surrender, accept, and go with it. Flow with it.
Yes, perfect. Ah, such good. Yeah, that's such good information. So yeah, we could, if you'd like to, we could go right into your gratitude meditation. I've actually listened to this several times. You were sweet enough to give me the gift of this gratitude meditation, and like one of my all-time favorite Christmas gifts that I've gotten. So yeah. So let's share that with the rest of the world and have you do the gratitude meditation.
Sounds good.
So connect with your inner wisdom to manifest your heartful desires.
Be wise.
Be grateful. Be happy.
Yay.
Thank you so much, Julia, for...
Thank you so much, Bren, and our great audience.
Yes. And we will be doing this semi-regularly, maybe like every month, and so we'll have another topic the next one, so look for us and subscribe to our channel. If you enjoy this, and leave comments on Facebook and friend us on Facebook, contact us, that would be great. So now we're in for a treat. We're going to have the gratitude meditation with Julia.
Yes, enjoy it. Be grateful for your health and stay in the flow.